The morning sun was just beginning to crest over the eastern hills when I heard it. The unmistakable rumble of an engine followed by the splintering crack of wood. I dropped my coffee mug on the porch table and sprinted toward the sound, my boots kicking up dust on the gravel driveway. There, at the edge of my property where my simple wooden gate stood, or rather, where it stood, was a silver Mercedes SUV, its chrome grille gleaming smugly in the early light. The gate hung at a crooked angle, one hinge completely torn from its post. Behind the wheel sat Patricia Henderson, president of the Meadowbrook Estates HOA, checking her lipstick in the rear-view mirror as if she hadn't just destroyed my property. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" I shouted, approaching the driver's side window. Patricia rolled down her window with the same casual indifference she might use when dismissing a server at a restaurant. "Oh, Jake, good morning. I'm simply taking the most efficient route to inspect the properties on Ridge Road. Your little gate was blocking the easement." "My little gate?" I could feel my blood pressure rising. This is my private ranch. There is no easement through my property. "Patricia, the actual road is half a mile that way." I pointed toward the county road that ran along the perimeter of my land. She waved her hand dismissively, her perfectly manicured nails catching the light. "The HOA charter clearly states that all roads and pathways within the community boundaries can be utilized for official HOA business. This dirt path cuts through the Ridge Road, therefore it's community access." I stared at her in disbelief. "Patricia, my ranch was here 20 years before your precious HOA even existed. I'm not part of Meadowbrook Estates. My property borders it, but I never joined your HOA. Details. She shifted her SUV into drive. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have inspections to conduct. Some of the residents on Ridge Road have been letting their fence paint chip, and I intend to issue citations." Before I could respond, she drove forward, her oversized SUV bumping over the remains of my gate. I stood there, fists clenched, watching her disappear down the dirt path that cut to my grazing pasture, the same pasture where my cattle roamed freely. This wasn't the first time Patricia had done this. 3 weeks ago, I'd found tire tracks cutting straight through my property. 2 weeks before that, I'd caught her tailgating her way through when I'd left the gate open to move cattle. Each time, she'd give me the same condescending smile and the same nonsense about community access. I'd tried being reasonable. I'd tried explaining property rights. I'd even tried calling the sheriff. But Deputy Morrison had just shrugged and suggested I work it out neighborly-like. Well, I was done being neighborly. I pulled out my phone and dialed Tommy Rodriguez, a contractor friend who specialized in security installations. "Tommy, it's Jake. Remember when you were telling me about those bollard systems you installed at the bank downtown?" "Yeah, the steel ones that can stop a truck? What about them? How fast can you get them installed on my property?" There was a pause, then a low chuckle. "Brother, what are you planning?" "Just a little property protection." 3 days later, Tommy and his crew arrived with a truck full of steel bollards, serious, industrial-grade posts that could stop a vehicle dead in its tracks. We spent the entire day digging deep holes, pouring concrete foundations, and setting the bollards in place. Each post was 6 inches in diameter, filled with concrete, and stood 4 feet above ground. They formed an impenetrable barrier across the path where my gate used to hang. "These babies aren't going anywhere," Tommy said, patting one of the bollards with satisfaction. "Rated to stop a vehicle going 40 miles per hour. Your HOA lady tries to ram through these. She's going to have a very bad day." I admired the craftsmanship. The bollards were painted bright yellow with reflective tape, impossible to miss, even for someone as oblivious as Patricia. Between them, I hung a new gate, this one reinforced steel with a heavy-duty lock. "Perfect," I said. "Absolutely perfect." I didn't have to wait long. The very next morning, I was in my barn feeding the horses when I heard the familiar sound of Patricia's Mercedes coming down the path. I walked to the barn entrance and watched as she approached the new barrier at her usual entitled speed. Her brake lights flared red as she came to an abrupt stop just inches from the bollards. Through her windshield, I could see her face, confusion morphing rapidly into outrage. She laid on her horn, the sound echoing across the open fields. I took my time walking over, wiping my hands on my jeans. Patricia had already gotten out of her vehicle and was standing before the bollards, her face flush red, her designer sunglasses perched on her head. "What is the meaning of this?" she shrieked, gesturing at the steel posts like they were a personal insult. "You can't block community access." "Morning, Patricia," I said calmly. "Coffee's good today. You want some?" "Don't you dare act casual with me. Jake Morrison. These things are blocking the road." "No, ma'am. They're blocking my property. There's the actual road, same as always." I pointed again toward the county road. "You know, the legal one that goes around my ranch instead of through it. The HOA has rights." She pulled out her phone, scrolling furiously through some document. Section 47, subsection B clearly states. "Patricia, stop." My voice was firm now, all pleasantness gone. I've been patient. I've been polite. But let me make this crystal clear. You have no rights on my property. None. Zero. Your HOA charter doesn't apply to me because I'm not a member. I never signed anything. I never agreed to anything. And I certainly never gave you permission to use my land as your personal shortcut. The county will hear about this. Good. Call them. In fact, I'll save you the trouble. I pulled out my own phone and dialed. "Hey, Deputy Morrison?" "Yeah, it's Jake. Patricia Henderson is on my property right now, and I'd like to file a trespassing report. Also, she owes me $800 for the gate she destroyed last week. I've got the repair estimate right here." Patricia's eyes went wide. "You wouldn't dare." "Oh, I absolutely would. You've damaged my property, repeatedly trespassed, and harassed me for weeks. I've documented everything. Photos, timestamps, witnesses." I gestured to the security camera I'd installed on my barn, pointed directly at the bollards. "Smile, Patricia. You're on camera." The color drained from her face as she realized I wasn't bluffing. Deputy Morrison arrived 20 minutes later. He took one look at the bollards, then at Patricia's face, and I could see him fighting back a smile. "Ma'am, Mr. Morrison is within his rights to protect his property," the deputy said after hearing both sides. "There's no easement through this land. I checked the county records myself this morning after Jake called. But the HOA has no jurisdiction over property that isn't part of the HOA," Deputy Morrison finished. "Now, you can either pay for the damage gate, or Jake here can press charges for criminal mischief and trespassing. Your choice." Patricia looked between us, her mouth opening and closing like a landed fish. Finally, she straightened her shoulders, attempting to salvage some dignity. "Fine," she hissed. "I'll pay for the gate. But this isn't over.